Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration for real. We're on the road at the Minova Summit, a 3-day future-leaning conference in downtown Minneapolis. My guest is Melissa Hanna, CEO of Mahmee. Hi, Melissa.
Hi there.
Tell us more about Mahmee.
Mahmee is a comprehensive maternal and infant care management platform. And it was started by myself and my two co-founders, our Chief Technology Officer, Sunny Walia, and Linda Hanna, who's our Chief Nursing Officer, and my mom.
That is pretty cool. And you're not a doctor, but you have a JD, you have an MBA, you understand systems, you understand technology. But what was really the brainchild of this?
Yes, well, it really is the combination of all of our work in this space between the founders. So I work on operations, the regulatory environment, on sales, and really building the company in a way that's going to be stable and scalable across the country. But it wouldn't have been possible without the pioneering work of my mom over a 4-decade-long career in maternal and child health. So she started as a nurse in obstetrics and went on to become an international board-certified lactation consultant. And then from there went on to design some of the most successful mother-baby care programs across the country. So I got a chance to build on that legacy and add technology to it.
What a really cool backstory, and a great mother-daughter story at the same time. So you really discovered that there was a big gap in the United States and that moms in America were dying in childbirth faster than in any other developed nation, which is shocking. You discovered that it was the information systems that were to blame. What do you mean by that?
Well, there are so many different kinds of professionals who work in maternal and infant health. And what we've found is that there are really big gaps in care rooted in gaps in data. And so being able to connect up all those providers that naturally work together but don't necessarily work in the same buildings or in the same practices or even in the same insurance networks means that we're able to facilitate the kind of care team experience that every family should have during pregnancy and during postpartum, but that is not readily available because those different care teams, those different organizations are not naturally connected to each other. So Mahmee's that underlying connector that links everything up and makes it much easier for your OB to talk to your pediatrician, to talk to your lactation consultant, to talk to your therapist or your nutritionist and your childbirth educator, and most importantly, to ensure that they all can connect with the patient and the patient can connect with everyone on their care team.
When you describe that, I think of the tragedy in our country, 9/11. And that helped us see that law enforcement was not connected to emergency, was not connected to fire in the way it should have been. Maybe we would have prevented some of the deaths of 9/11, but it also gave us that moment in time to get some of that fixed. It seems like you're trying to do that when it comes to mother-baby.
I would say so. There are some real opportunities in just simply linking things up properly and linking together the mom and baby's health record in a way that give us a whole picture of the mother-baby dyad who are symbiotically connected to each other. We can't change that. We need to recognize the natural patterns and rhythms of the prenatal experience and the postpartum experience. And so being able to understand how mom and baby's health is impacted by one or the other and by care for one or the other is a really powerful thing that this technology allows for. And I think that is a common narrative with technology through our lifetime. So you bring up 9/11, and there are many other examples of times when in the past we weren't able to take action on something fast enough. We weren't able to get to where we needed to be to help someone or to rescue or even to to catch a bad guy fast enough because the systems that had bits and pieces of that data weren't connected. And so we weren't able to see the big picture as quickly as we needed to. And similarly, now we're facing a crisis where, yet again, we don't see the big picture on how to proactively help these families before a crisis occurs.
The Mahmee app now has 1,000 providers in Los Angeles, including Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and UCLA. You want more, you want to scale this across the country. What are some ways that people out there listening to this podcast can find out, can actually get mommy?
Well, we invite everyone to visit our site and learn more about the ways in which Mahmee works with all of these different stakeholders in the ecosystem. And so all of that information is available at mahmee.com, mahmee.com. And to go online and get connected with us on social through, Get Mahmee is our handle on Twitter and on Facebook. But more importantly, I think it's about looking deeply into each of our communities and seeing what's working and what's not working, and becoming an activist in your own community for that change to occur. This is not going to get fixed. This problem of maternal and infant mortality in the United States is not going to get fixed by any one organization trying to change it on their own. We know that, and we don't expect to be the end-all be-all here either. It's going to happen by us looking collectively at what's going on in the communities that we live in and building coalitions to make change together.
And at the end of the day, you need this to be a collective vision, and you're really putting some information out there. But I have to ask you, because you are dealing with lawmakers, you're lobbying, do you think moms get shafted by the laws?
Yes.
You can be honest.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty messed up, and it's happening at so many levels in the healthcare industry, in this ecosystem that is just so layered and multifaceted with folks that, in theory, when we speak about these problems that are plaguing the maternal and infant healthcare community, we know that the numbers are horrible. We know that families are failing to receive care in time. They're failing to be heard. They're failing to be respected. We know that these things are happening, but there are still a lot of folks that are quick to look towards someone else to make the change. And not because they don't want to make the change, but because they feel like they are not in an empowered position to do so. So one of the parts of my work as someone who goes around the country and speaks about this, and not just selling the software, selling the services that we provide to health systems and to payers, really another important part of my job is to build those coalitions and help people realize what role they can play in making this change come about. That is, it's a big passion of mine. I'll say that being the daughter of someone who has worked in this space her whole life, and being someone who is not a medical provider, I saw my mother's work, and I was pursuing, at that time, I was pursuing a JD and an MBA, and I thought, well, what good can I do? I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. How can I make change? And when I took a step back and I looked at the larger the larger industry here, you see that there are regulatory dynamics, there are clinical dynamics, there are psychosocial and demographic and socioeconomic dynamics, and we can all have a part in trying to alleviate these issues across the country.
Well, your vision is to help all of us think of mothers and babies as the time frame, conception through their first birthday, where the care is there, the mom's just not shooed out of the hospital after the baby is born and not really heard from again, or no one reaches out. So there's a lot of work yet to be done. But I have to ask, it's hard work. How do you find refresh time? How do you recover from it all?
Well, opportunities like this to be at the Minova Summit are some of those refresh moments for me. I'm not here selling, Mahmee to someone, and I'm not here trying to broker a deal and be, CEO of a company. I'm in an environment of a lot of folks that are being really innovative in their spaces. I'm learning from other people that are here about the work they're doing in all parts of healthcare and wellness work as well. Health and wellness being inextricably tied. So I'm just getting a chance to hear other great ideas that are out there and figure out where Mahmee can fit into this larger movement. So that's really what helps reinvigorate me. Otherwise, I think many people here at the summit would probably share in this sentiment that if you get too hunkered down in your own work, in your own vertical in healthcare, your own thing that you're doing, it's not just exhausting, it's also emotionally isolating. It can really take a toll because this work is very hard.
So I also know you have a bit of a sweet tooth, and you launched the first gourmet dessert truck in Los Angeles. How did that come about, and why dessert?
Well, yeah, that was definitely a really different business than this one. I do have a sweet tooth. And while I was studying as a visiting student in New York City at Columbia University, while I was still in college, I did a semester there. And being born and raised in Los Angeles, I was exposed to sort of the social and nightlife scene of LA. But when I got to New York, there were all of these really wonderful dessert spots and late night places that weren't nightclubs or anything, but were just really great late night lounges and environments for enjoying a sweet item. And so I went to those places a lot. And when I got back to LA, I thought, why isn't there more of this happening? Why isn't there this dessert culture? I felt like I really missed it, and I wanted to bring that about, but I was also 22 years old. So I was not in a position to open any kind of venue. So I talked with my family and friends about it, and someone pitched the idea and said, well, maybe there's another way that you can get into the dessert scene in LA. Maybe you could do a food truck. And I thought that would be crazy. But the entrepreneurial side of me said, well, let me just look into it anyway. And it turned out to be the best approach to trying to build something new in this space. So we started the first dessert truck in Los Angeles. I brought together a group of people and some business partners, and it was a big hit. And we got in the LA Times really early on. People were writing about us. It was a fun time.
Now, is the dessert truck still around?
No, it's not around anymore. We sold that, and we moved on from that project, but not before doing some really fun events, some fun catering, and driving all across LA, which is huge. And we even did a stint on Cupcake Wars.
Wow. So you learned a lot and you had some fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, and so different from what you're doing now, but what a great history to have.
Yeah, this has been much of my career is getting crazy ideas and then jumping in with both feet and trying them out. I will say with this one, before beginning Mahmee, I knew it was a crazy idea. I knew the stats and what we were up against. Just as anyone, any founder wanting to work in the space of maternal and child health, but also as a country, what we're up against and how bad the stats are compared with other developed nations. So I recognized that this was going to be a different kind of challenge to face. And a lot of people actually warned me against doing it, including my own mother, who said, do anything else with your life and you'll probably be more successful. This is a really, really hard problem to face. And that only inspired me more. I was that child that was like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I am going to build this company anyway. And then, of course, asked her to be my co-founder.
Which is great. That's a great full circle on that one. Let's do a bit of a fire round.
Okay.
Is there a brand out there that you really admire in the tech space?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. Well, I'll say one that comes to mind right now, and maybe not for the reasons someone would think, but I really like our payroll company. We use Gusto. They're based in Denver, Colorado, and I've heard the founders speak. I've heard the CEO speak, and I think that the company's approach to employee management and the tools that they've built for early stage founders like myself to build a team, really inspiring. And I can see that not just in their software, but in their company culture as well. The support is great. They've got really great tools for businesses like ours. And I'm a fan of just how they operate inside and out. So, and I'd say, frankly, they make my life easier.
Yeah, no, that is great. I love that. I've heard of that brand. One of my clients partners with them. So that's great to hear. They'll love that shout out. What about a country that's getting it right when it comes to childcare and childbirth?
Oh, well, there are a few, I would say. I think that we're seeing really inspirational work coming just out of Northern Europe generally. And we're seeing the models of care be drastically different than what we do in the U.S. So the work that's being done in Finland, in Norway, Denmark. These are 3 countries to look closely at for inspiration in models of care. They really reframe the whole maternity experience around preventative health and around that continuum, that end-to-end experience from conception through baby's first year of life is all sort of boxed together to be a fully defined point in someone's life that needs certain services and products and support, rather than the way we do it in the U.S., which is sort of like a la carte. Each family has to figure out on their own what they need help with.
What's your favorite dessert?
Oh dear, that is the hardest question you could ask me.
I think you've tackled bigger issues.
Oh, but I love them all. I often will say to people that like if I'm out for dinner or something, they'll, oh, let's get dessert. And, what do you want, Melissa? I haven't met a dessert I don't like. So,
Is there anything when we're in LA, any place you recommend we try for dessert?
Well, there are. Oh gosh, there are a lot of great places. I will say I had a really exciting, different dessert experience at a restaurant called Little Pine, which is a vegan restaurant. And now I'm not vegan, but I went there with some friends who are, and I occasionally eat vegan with with friends and family. And I had like a banana cream pie there that was a completely vegan dessert.
Wow!
And I didn't think you could do that with like banana pie. But oh my gosh, it was absolutely fantastic. And I still think about it to this day.
I will definitely try that the next time I'm in LA. Well, Melissa Hanna, such a pleasure to chat with you. Good luck with your journey and this work. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation.
Until next time, keep it real.